Hey everybody, I am the Analogist here, and today I wanted to talk about Wreck-It Ralph. I saw this movie a long time ago, and it really kind of disturbed me a little bit. I mean, I have a tendency to want to turn everything into an allegory, and I usually can, but I had a little trouble with this one, possibly because the allegory is a little bit mixed.
Yes, the selfish man is like a mangy dog chasing a cautionary tale.
I know, right?
Basically, in Wreck-It Ralph, he doesn't like his job. His job is lame, nobody likes him for doing it. His job is to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to be the bad guy.
My name's Ralph, and I'm a bad guy.
We hear constantly in the movie this thing called going turbo.
You're not going turbo, are you?
Ralph's gone turbo? You're not going turbo, are you? But I never thought he'd go turbo.
And going turbo is supposed to be like the bad thing. It's when you leave your game to go to another game. I'm trying to think of what that would mean symbolically. If being dissatisfied with your job, the response for which is to try to get another job, then why is it bad to go turbo exactly?
Is it turbo to want a friend? Or a medal? Or a piece of pie every once in a while? Is it turbo to want more out of life?
I mean, we find out eventually that, Turbo's the actual villain of this story because, he usurped someone else's position. Positions are somehow set in stone by fate and contradict fate. I like that that's even an idea.
But we can't change who we are. And the sooner you accept that, the better off your game and your life will be.
The sin of Turbo was to leave his game because he wasn't happy, to go to another game, which is what Wreck-It Ralph does.
You can't mess with the program, Ralph.
And the resolution of the story is not that, he gets a better job. The resolution of the story is that he's still in the job that he's in. He's still Wreck-It Ralph. But now everybody's, nice to him now.
The Nicelanders are being nice to me.
I guess it's the reason he didn't like his job is just because people weren't nice to him or something.
Well, what did you want, Ralph?
I don't know. I was just tired of living alone in the garbage.
And his job meant you have to live in the garbage. So I'm trying to think, well, what exactly is the lesson of Wreck-It Ralph then? If the whole thing is, you don't want to live in the garbage, but don't try to get out of the garbage because then you make problems.
Turbo ended up putting both games and himself out of order.
It almost seems like the movie is suggesting, some kind of caste system type values, that you should be happy with where you're at, which is fine, fatalistically. I mean, obviously, not everybody's going to be born into privilege or prosperity or wealth. Not everything's going to be easy for you, and you should accept the hand you're dealt. Yeah, I get that. That doesn't mean that you don't try to be clever and play a better hand.
Is it turbo to want more out of life?
Yeah. And I also hate that there was something kind of strange about how in the very end he feels so comforted for the fact that he made friends with this character when he was game jumping.
Because if that little kid likes me, how bad can I be?
You know what it kind of seems like is the kind of real honor and real usefulness that exists in a lot of these lower level jobs. If you are a mechanic, yeah, you do really help people. You fix their cars and stuff like that.
Exactly. That's an honorable profession. What's wrong with fixing somebody's car? Someone will get to work the next day because of me. There's honor in that.
Yeah, there is.
A salesperson at a grocery store, you tell people where it is. Maybe you give them some cool recipe tips. I mean, you're useful, and people actually like you, and you're useful. But the frustrating reality is that the system usually says, well, if you're going to do that for a living, you have to live in the dump because that job pays this amount of money because the programmers said so. Kind of like how Wreck-It Ralph has to live in the dump because program says he lives in the dump. the way a lot of those, lower caste type of jobs that exist in real life, I mean, they're important, but the skills, needed for them are like common. Wages are based on replaceability. Well, that's kind of the issue, because this metaphor of not liking your job kind of doesn't work exactly, because his job is extremely important. He's not like one of those random people living in the apartment who doesn't really matter.
Because you're just the bad guy who wrecks the building.
As opposed to, like, well, I put the stuff on the shelf and arrange it neatly, or I clean the bathrooms, and those are important. But, I mean, if you want more out of life than to do that, why you want to go turbo and wreck the system?
Hey, one game at a time, Ralph.
If the lesson is just to, be happy with what you got, it's hard to even get that message out of it, because happy with what you got, I mean, what he ends up getting is that the people are nice to him. Well, it's kind of like how in your companies usually, nobody really does care too much about the lower rung people.
When Felix does a good job, he gets a medal. But are there medals for wrecking stuff really well? To that, I say ha! And no, there aren't.
I mean, you don't invite everybody to the company picnic. The company is, a nationwide company. So, do you really invite everybody?
Happy 30th anniversary? They're having a party without me.
It would be nice if in real life people actually did value every role in their system. I'm not saying we get rid of janitors, or it's wrong to be a janitor, or wrong to be happy with being a janitor, but the fact that you don't really get much of a living from being a janitor, it suggests that we're not really all part of the same team, or that there's different teams or something like that. So in that sense, we kind of see the resolution of Wreck-It Ralph, that, the attitude changes.
Built myself a little shack, and a couple for the new guys, too.
Well, that's kind of frustrating, because life is just kind of not like that. People have a tendency to, well, I'm in charge, you do this, you do that.
Because you're just the bad guy who wrecks the building.
Where people are having tasks delegated to them, as opposed to being in an actual inner circle. And there are inner circles in business, but they're usually at the top, and everybody else is just doing what they're told, and there isn't really any participation. Which in theory is the fault of the people at the bottom for not wanting to participate.
You're not going turbo, are you?
And how are they gonna... Why do you expect them to participate if they have to fill this role and accept the wage that comes with it? And from the very beginning, they don't feel like they're a part of the team, especially in all these jobs where background check, last 7 years work history, 10 years apartment, history. And from the very beginning of people's relationship with a company, they're on the outside. I mean, that's how real life is. So the whole having a crappy job that you don't like, well, that was never really what was going on in this story, so...
And I promise I will never try to be good again. I'm taking life one game at a time.
It really seems like what they're trying to do is give an argument for preserving the status quo.
Losing all hope was freedom.
Why is that the lesson?
You can't mess with the program, Ralph.
See, it just seems kind of weird to me. I don't completely understand what this movie is supposed to be about. And yeah, you could say it's just me. I mean, the lesson to be happy with what you got. Yeah, that's a true lesson. But is it really coming for the movie? Or have we just been generous towards the movie and saying, oh, this is actually the good lesson in there and that's what the lesson is? Well, the lesson doesn't exactly match the content of the story. That's my whole problem. Because the lesson isn't matching the content of the story, that's why I say the story's flawed. Anyway, those are my thoughts about this movie. Let me know what you think in the comments section about it. Bye-bye.